Hello, Faith family. I've been praying about what I might share with you this week that might encourage your hearts. And the Lord laid upon my heart to share a word of affirmation and perhaps a challenge to all of us around our efforts to truly be a community of believers during this time of separation. One of my favorite authors and modern day heroes of the faith was Chuck Colson. You may recognize his face. He's well known because of his prison ministry. In his book, The Faith, it's one of over 30 books that he wrote, Chuck talked about the role of church in our lives. He wrote, "Genuine community characterizes the church. The Apostle Paul reminds the church in Rome, in church, we who are many form one body, and each member belongs to all of the others." Romans 12:5. How we belong to one another goes far beyond the sweet fellowship of potluck suppers and finding a comfortable social circle. True community involves a real koinonia, a deep communion, the kind the apostles described in Acts 4, which is the first real sign of the kingdom on earth, where each person in need was helped. This is where people truly bear one another's burdens, pray for one another, and yes, even suffer for one another. Let me encourage you by actually reading that passage from Acts 4:32-35. Now the full number of those who believed were of one heart and soul, and no one said that any of these things that belonged to him was his own, but they had everything in common. And with great power, the apostles were giving their testimony to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and great grace was upon them all. There was not a needy person among them. For as many as were owners of lands or houses sold them and brought the proceeds of what was sold and laid it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to each as any had need. What a model and what an encouragement to us and a challenge to us. In this season of isolation, it's really easy and probably instinctive for us to kind of hunker down, become insular, protect our families and ourselves. But just as we read, we are really called to sacrifice for others. Sacrifice means going out of our comfort zone and perhaps even giving out of our very point of need. So if you're feeling lonely, I challenge you to call someone this week, reach out to them, let them know you're thinking of them, ask them how you might pray for them, and indeed offer to pray for them right on the spot, right there on the phone. Or perhaps you're more comfortable writing to someone. I can assure you that the post office is still delivering mail and that you will surely light up someone's day by sending a card or note telling them that you're praying for them. And do remember to pray for them after that. We're seeing many acts of kindness on social media in the world where people are helping others, and that's terrific. Many of you have already done sacrificial acts of kindness by preparing meals, offering to buy groceries, or picking up prescriptions for an elderly neighbor or friend. Keep it up. Right now, we need to be the shining light in our communities because we have true peace and joy in our hearts during this difficult season. Another way we can show love to each other is to faithfully continue our giving to the church. And that might sound odd to you, but Chuck actually addressed that in the book as well, speaking and saying, sharing of one another's burdens is something we do every Sunday, actually, in giving our tithes and offerings. As we always say on Sundays at Elmont, giving is an act of worship. It's also an act of obedience to the Lord and is a way for us to show love to others through the church's mission to spread the gospel locally and around the world. So I encourage you and challenge you to be faithful in sacrificial giving during this time of separation. I want to close with some additional words from Chuck Colson about the church and our role in our community. Where these marks are present, the preaching of the word, the administration of the sacraments, the exercise of discipline, and the practice of community, the church will inevitably transform the culture around it. When we are the church, as Christ commands us to be, we change, and so does the world. So remember, we aren't just members of Elmont Church. We are the church. Let's be the church that God's called us to be. May God richly bless you all.